Hey guys, it's Max Steinberg. Welcome to another Lineup Lab. Today I'm going to show you how I pick my top plays at running back using information that you can actually find for completely free on my website, DailyFantasyWinners, on this website, NFLSavant.com, ESPN.com, and of course Football Outsider is one of my favorite sites. So what I'm going to tell you today is how I choose my top picks at running backs, and I start with this tool that you can find at Daily Fantasy Winners called the NFL Sportsbook Point Projection Tool. I'm not going to totally get into how it works. I'll post an article about it on the comment section below this video, but essentially it just takes a point projection based on the spread and the over-under that you could find on any Vegas sportsbook or online sportsbook, and it turns it into a pass point and run point share, just how many of the points are expected to be scored on the ground, how many points are expected to be scored through the air. So this isn't a perfect statistic. You can't just trust run point share. You have to look at a bunch of other factors. But I just start here because I want to see the teams who are just projected to score the highest points on the ground and go from there. So the top team is Carolina, and they have a 13.7 run point share. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out who is the number one running back at Carolina. So I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to Football Outsiders. I'm going to look at Carolina. I'm going to go to Week 13. And I'm going to look at which running back's getting the most snaps on their team. And for those of you that play Daily Fantasy, this is pretty obvious. It's Jonathan Stewart with 78%, which is a high number. Most running backs are in sort of timeshare type of situations where they don't really get more than 65% of snaps. So having someone with 78% is actually really high. And so that's a very positive number I'm seeing. So we know that Jonathan Stewart's the number one back. So now we have to see, okay, well, how many rushes is he getting? So we go to Carolina, and I'm just going to go to the last game because the last game is usually predictive of this, but looking at an entire season is helpful as well. So we look at Carolina, and we see that Jonathan Stewart actually only got 21 of 34 carries. Well, how does this make sense? Because he's getting 80% of the running back snaps. Well, the reason it makes sense is because Cam Newton is a running quarterback and actually runs the ball quite a bit. So he got 10 to Stewart's 21 carries. So the fact that this number really is really high, I have to discount a bit for Stewart's sake because we know that Cam Newton is actually a part of this run point share because he runs the ball quite a bit. But I still like Stewart quite a bit because he is on a team that's toward the top of the run point share, and he does get a lot of snaps. Now, the last thing I'm going to look at is NFLSavant.com, which is going to tell me how many red zone rushing attempts Stewart is getting. And this is helpful because it sort of just helps us project touchdowns. If they like using Stewart in the red zone, it means that he's probably going to get a lot of touchdowns. So, in fact, Stewart is used quite a bit in the red zone. He had 5 rushes out of the 8 total rushes in the red zone last week. If you look at it on the season, Stewart actually has 44 rushes in the red zone on the season, which is quite a high number, and is actually like one of their main red zone runners. So, for me, I would say based on all this, that Jonathan Stewart is one of my top plays at running back this week. Now, we don't know if he is the top play because, as I said, it's not all based on run point share, and it's sort of a collection of all these statistics that I'm just looking up and showing you, and it's a little bit of feel. So we're just going to look at Tampa Bay next and look at their run point share. So we're going to go to Football Outsiders again, and we're going to go to Tampa Bay, and we're going to look at the Week 13 snap counts. So if we wait for this to load, Doug Martin, 69% of offensive snaps. So that's also pretty high. It's not as high as Stewart, but I still like that number quite a bit. And it's definitely a good majority. So now we're going to look at how many runs he gets. So we're going to go to the Tampa Bay Atlanta game, which Doug Martin did quite well in. And he got 25 out of the 37 carries. So we see that we run into this quarterback issue once again because Jameis Winston also carries the ball a little bit, so he's going to get some points on the ground. But for the most part, Doug Martin is the number one back. And so this high run share is probably actually higher. Doug Martin is probably getting a higher piece of this run share than Jonathan Stewart is for Carolina. So if we're to just parse this out, I would say that Doug Martin actually is probably the highest run share running back because he's going to run the ball more than Jonathan Stewart proportionally. But the last thing we want to look at, obviously, is red zone stuff. So again, we're going to go to Tampa. We're going to go to NFL Savant, go to Tampa Bay. We see that Doug Martin has a pretty high percentage of those red zone carries. And if we look at last week, he had 5 to Charles Sims 2 and scored a touchdown. So Doug Martin is definitely on my list of top running backs and seems like a great play this week. So basically that's all I do. You just go down this list of run share, look at the snap counts, try to figure out who's going to be on the field a lot, who's going to get running the ball a lot, and who's getting those red zone touches. And it's really just as simple as that, picking a running back. I do this every week, and I find it's very, very, very accurate. And yeah, so hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please press the thumbs up button, like, also subscribe. And I'll catch you again tomorrow, next day. I'm going to put out a lot of videos this week, so thanks for watching.